everybody, this is David with David Stream. We're live. We're just gonna cut down on the pomp and the graphics and everything and the prompts. And I'm gonna sit down and have a conversation. Now, I don't know if anybody's gonna be coming in or watching, but we're here. I have a few things I want to discuss. A couple of them are regarding the fact, educationally, the weather in Florida. Gnarly. A lot of people ended up getting really downtrodden by this. Now, Milton isn't the worst thing to happen. Helene was also awful as well. And a lot of people are suffering. But let's bring up the point of this. Why is this happening? Why are people actually getting hurt? Why are people losing their homes? Why are people actually in certain places? First of all, I'm inland. And I'm like 6 to 7 miles away from the coast, so not in a floodplain. But just to explain, because of the infrastructure that Florida has, people ended up getting inundated with a huge amount of water. And I can go after the unprecedented events that happened with Helene, where my girlfriend actually got hit directly when I got brushed. Then we could talk about what's going on with Tropical Storm Sarah, with the huge amounts of rain down over in Honduras and all them. I mean, I think one of the biggest issues we're having is people aren't sitting down and actually having proper dialogues. We see the news, we hear the politicians, we hear a lot of hollow words, and we hear a lot of people trying to do things about it. But the problem is, just to explain, this isn't in everybody's case, and it won't be everybody's. But in short-term answers, we have to address certain things in the room that need to be addressed. The local governments. We need to address the fact that people need assistance. And we also need to address the accountability factor of these things. Listen, just point blank. Disasters happen everywhere. You can't help nature. Nature will win every time. So what do? Do you leave your home that you've been in a place for 10, 15, 20 years because you get flooded? Or do you try and rebuild? Do you reach out to your local representatives who were neglectful because of the infrastructure issues? It's like where I lived at. Just to explain. We were flooded with 3.5 to 4 feet of water. People had anywhere between 1.5 feet to 18 to 3 feet of water in their homes. And that's just one small area. And it was the worst hit area in our city. And then when you're talking about the rest of Florida, there was flooding statewide in that central or Florida swath. It was awful. Don't get me started on Helene. With it hitting Appalachia, with it hitting Vermont, with it hitting Georgia. Jesus Christ. So the question of the day is, what do we do about it? Do we sit on our laurels and do nothing? Do we talk to our officials who are too busy right now trying to actually be elected and keep their positions? Or do we bring this up and talk? Awareness is one of those things that I find lacking lately. Awareness in life, awareness in your environment, and awareness in your situation. I'm going to say something kind of controversial right now regarding my specific area. It's one of those things that people will not talk about it or bring it up, but I have to be honest, and this is a form of neglect. The area I'm in is an HOA. It's designed to where the groundskeepers and maintenance are supposed to keep the grounds maintained and the property maintained. Now, there's a limitation to their abilities to do that because of logistics and because of surrounding environments. Now, to explain in broader terms, there were a multitude of issues that happened regarding Adalia, which is a tropical storm that turned into a hurricane, and Milton in my specific area. Now, we're going to address the rest of the situation accordingly because a lot of areas got decimated by Helene and Milton, and also a lot of other hurricanes. But let's sit down and talk about this because I normally don't bring this up. I don't normally talk about these things. Let's go and bring my screen capture up. All right, and we'll do screen 1. There you go. Bear with me a moment. Let's see what they said. Like I said, my home where I live isn't the only isolated location. Look at this. This is Wesley Chapel. Wesley Chapel is so far from the coast. Just to explain, let me pull up a map of Tampa Bay. Okay, check this out. Wesley Chapel? Get this. All right. Let's see where Wesley Chapel is. It's been a while since I've looked here. Here it is. Okay, take a look at this. Okay, here's Tampa in general, okay? Wesley Chapel's all the way up here. People ended up underwater. Look how far away that is. That was just because of the water. Just because of the water. Now let me go and do this. Wesley Chapel. One. I know the apartment complex that they had to evacuate there too. Excuse me. Anyways, so what failed? What's worked? Simple. What failed? Florida. Florida itself failed. The government failed. They failed to ever anticipate something like this ever coming through. And the problem is I don't care if you're part of climate change or not climate change, climate denier, whatever. But just own this. These things are becoming more common. Look what happened to Katrina. Look what happened to Andrew. Look what happened to Milton. Look what how many of these one in a century storms are we going to have to get until it dawns on people, it dawns on the government, and it dawns on our leadership to figure things out. I'm about to actually go right to my government officials right now after this stream and be like, hey guys, what can we do? Because this was all right. Before I go and start sharing details, I have to be very clear and very concise and very careful. The problem that we had was a logistical issue. It was not because of just the storm. There were multiple entities at fault. If this was just a storm related issue, I would be like, it's a natural disaster. We'll move on. It sucks. It's no one's fault. The problem is there are legitimate people to blame. There are legitimate entities to blame, and there's legitimate governmental officials to blame who are responsible for these failings. I can't get much more clear on that. There were multiple failings. Multiple failings. For all this situation, and what makes this worse is during the time of recovery, during the time that people are supposed to rebuild and fulfill their requirements, my job, where I work at, people started throwing heavy stuff away in ways they weren't supposed to. I got hurt. I'm on workers' compensation. But the problem is I'm on limited duties where I can't do much. I can transport limbs with the vehicle. I can dump limbs with the vehicle. I can't lift anything. I have to use pickers to lift stuff. In order to move limbs and stuff, I have to rely on another person. All because a person decided not to regard a community's rules and regulations. I got hurt because of negligence. And I might even need surgery. But this is the point. This whole cycle, this whole dilemma. People thought, hey, you know what? It might be a good idea to be quiet and not do anything and address it accordingly. I can't say more. I can't. I wish I could. Normally I get more viewerships than this too, but I haven't gotten any. But just being real about this situation. People are like, hey, you know what? It's a mess. I'm like, yeah, but what? The question of the day is, I don't care who's in office. My questions are this to anybody who's in office, and if an official ever catches wind of this, my questions are this to you. What the hell are you going to do to make it so that these things that are preventable are prevented? Because the problem is we have another storm coming in that's going to provide another foot of rain, possibly. Now, yes, the water's receded. Yes, the soil's not as inundated with water as it was before. It hadn't rained in a long time. But people are still in the process of rebuilding. People lost trust of our local officials. And people lost faith. It's no wonder to me why Trump won the election. Do I agree with what he stands for? No. Do I agree what the Democrats fully stand for? No. Does Trump represent my views in politics? No. No. And the problem is, and the biggest problem I found, is the pain points. The issues involved with people being able to suss out the exact concerns that are nonsensical but legitimate at the same time. Bathrooms for our competing athletes who are different genders than each other. Okay, that's a concern. How often does it happen? Is it a concern? Yes. But does it need to be brought up 50 times? Is it even a big issue? If there's a precedent, adjust to it accordingly and address it. Don't just beat drums over it. Because you're going to scare people. And people are already scared. It's like worldviews. Israel, Palestine, Hamas. Is Palestine a nation? Let's ask a question. Was it a culture first? Let's look at these people. Let's look at this. What is Hamas really? Who stands behind it? What happened? Why are people dying? Where are the questions? I'm hearing statements. I'm hearing assertions. I'm hearing concerns. I'm hearing fears. Where are people asking questions? We need to stop being blind and leading and following our leaders. We need to question. We need to ask, what does this mean? It's like the tariff things with Trump. What are the questions needed to know? What are tariffs? What do they do? What are they good for? What are they useful for? Why would we be using tariffs? What's the effect of these tariffs? Did anybody ask these questions? With the Biden administration relaxing on the border. Why did we have to relax on the border? Was it because of our budget being cut? Was it because of Republican interference? Was it because of things happening behind the scenes? What's going on? Let's ask questions. Let's stop assuming. I don't care what your viewpoint is or where you stand. I'm willing to ask questions to understand where you stand at least. You may be, in my view, wrong. But that doesn't mean the fact that I'm not going to try and understand where your stance is. I have so many different feelings and conflictions regarding everything I've seen and dealt with. The factors behind it, how many people are concerned and scared, the amount of people who are actually thrilled. I have questions. And I can answer them. But I want to be able to ask questions without being yelled at, without being judged. I want to understand. I'd rather not be a follower blindly. I'd rather be educated and understand the situation and know what the hell's going on. This is my home. The United States is my background. It's where I live. As screwed up as it is, as messed up our politics are, as divided our people are, this is my home. The people who voted for Trump, they are also part of my country. They may not be my exact people, but they are part of my nation. It's time for us to, instead of actually playing these, I blame you, I play this, I'm going to go to the extreme and scare people, let's ask questions. Now, speaking of which, regarding the storms, regarding everything going on, I have a couple of things I want to bring up. I am going to set up a GoFundMe for trying to upgrade my computer and actually be better able to be prepared to actually do what I need to do. I also want to do some things with the GoFundMe to help friends who were affected by Hurricane Milton. I also want to be able to help with some expenses. Because honest to God, it's such a disaster. I'll put the description of it in there. Just pass it along. I don't need that much. But if you want to share this information around, me and my family we would appreciate it. It's one of those things. No, we're not in dire straits, but the money will go to a good place. It will actually go to people who actually need it and people who might need specific things. There's a young woman with a newborn, recent newborn, who lost basically everything. And I want to help her out. I don't want her to know, but I want to help her out. I also had friends who were renters who lived near me, and they also lost practically everything as well. They're settled in, but I would like to see if I could do anything to help them out. Anyways, if you like this video, if you catch wind of it, just put a thumbs up on it, and it will let me know how many people are interested in doing this. I appreciate it, and I thank you. There isn't much more I can say or do at this time, but every little bit of attention this gets helps in the long run. So thank you. And like always, keep it real. We'll be back to gaming tonight. I'll be very excited to see what's going to happen next. I'm just so tired. I am so damn tired of everything going on. I hurt. And if I need surgery, I'll know in the next couple of days. But at least I'm getting paid for, and I'm getting medically cleared.